Here, ready to sit. Oh, no time like the present. We are live. So if you have, do you want me to tag you in this and you can share it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll share it via my phone.
Okay. So I'll tag you. I'm going to share.
You can probably tag the personal account and the business, but it's probably easiest to share through the business.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure I'm following you on the business, which is Prime Canine. I'll set up a link down here as well. And really quick, some house cleaning, some scheduled stuff that I have to say. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Bow Wow Bill live stream here on Facebook, YouTube, and X. Follow me on X because they're making me pay now to stream these. So, and guess what? Obama's following me on X. Did you know that?
No,
I didn't know that. That spot looks familiar. Yes, yes, my room is the room I always. No, just kidding. Joe says that your spot is looking familiar. So you're in the facility that you and Pat train out of, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, and Mr. ADD I am. So let me, before I get to the comments, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Joe's watching on the YouTube. Andy's watching on YouTube. Thank you, you guys. And then subscribe. Go over to Bow Wow Bill on X. Be like Obama, and follow me there. And MC Hammer is following me. Do you know MC Hammer?
You've just got all these wild people following you. I did not expect this.
Petco is following me. Like,
I don't like imagine these people on these platforms. Like, do you know what I mean? I just like, yeah. I'm like, no, they're just not on this sort of stuff. Like.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how the heck they follow me. I've been on there for a while, so maybe that's it. I followed them from the very, very beginning. And then let me do my little thingy here. Paid for that too, so I got to show that. And if you guys like what I do, please consider supporting me financially on Patreon. It really helps, and I'll put a link to my Patreon in the comments down below. And it looks like Jas has got a little fidget spinner from Around Square.
Yep, Knucklebone.
A Knucklebone, that's right.
This one's actually Pat's because I currently can't find the 3 that I had, and I think I use this more than him every time.
Well, will you show that?
Yeah, I do.
Just hold it straight up. Yep. Yeah, we can see it perfectly like that. Yep. Yeah, so it's a Knucklebone. Yeah, and I'm going to put it.
I think is the copper one.
I'll put up a link to Around Square.
They've got some really good gear on there. I want to get one of their. I forget what they're called. They're the slightly longer ones. They've got the 2 heads on the end. It would be like the equivalent of spinning a pen. I just forget what they're called, but that'll probably be the next thing I get. So, well, these are the most frequently used by me, Knucklebones.
Here they are, right here. So, the Dubelo, not this thing right here.
No, it's. I can't remember what it's called. I didn't see it. Yeah, I haven't used it. Or I think like I've fiddled with one before, but never really actually used them.
These?
Baton. I think it's called like a something baton.
Other manipulatives here. They have a nowhere plank. Contact balls.
There should be like a way to search.
Here, I'll do the Knucklebone, see if it's in the Knucklebones here. Interesting. Yeah, here's all the Knucklebones so put in baton. Oh, right there. Knuckle baton.
There you go. Yeah, so like sort of similar concept, but would be kind of the equivalent of maybe spinning a pen, but it's like balanced and everything. So.
No kidding, man. I'm gonna have to spend some more money on this. I have an MK Ultra. I have a Chet key from him. Yeah, so check this out. And I actually made some Knucklebones out of glass.
Wow.
By Chad Mackin about this stuff. And then when I was hanging out with Jay Jack, he threw me a Chet key and a Chetki. Usually I have it on me. I have a rosary on me, but it's for meditation or prayers, right? There's like 10 or 12 on the Chetki. And yeah, so Round Square, I put up in the comments so you guys check him out. He's a small businessman, but he makes amazing products, amazing customer service. Highly recommend him. And that's what Jas has in her hand that you'll see her fidgeting with during our live stream here. And then let me tag you. And while I tag you, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody and just tell everybody who you are, where you're located, and what you're all about, Jas?
Sure. So Jas Whiting from Prime Canine, and I'm in Sydney, Australia. So here it's 8 a.m. I don't know where everybody's listening from. Feel free to comment that below. That's kind of interesting to me to see sort of where this reaches. Obviously, if you have any questions, put that in. I started out, well, I don't even know how many years ago now, but I started with my dog who I adopted. I had the intention of training her to be my PTSD assistance dog, and she was definitely like unsuitable for that. It was going to take a lot of work. Thankfully, I had, Pat Stuart to mentor me and help me through that. And then once I started training her, I really enjoyed dog training and progressed through creating my own business, working with clients, any clients, pet clients, difficult cases like behavioral problems, those sort of things. But then over the years have progressed into sport dogs, and then now more law enforcement and working dogs sort of things. So now I'm raising and developing puppies and then selling them. So like that's in a very quick kind of way, that's the progression of where I've gone and where I'm up to now. So obviously there's spin-offs along the way. I teach seminars as well. I'm in the process of making tutorials and online courses, some of which are with Pat, and they'll be going out soon. And then I'll be having other ones through my own platform as well. So that's all happening while I'm raising the puppies, and had started while I was working with clients previously, but to dedicate enough time to doing the courses and with these pups and everything like that, I've backed off the clients for the moment, and I do miss aspects of that, but I do enjoy what I'm doing at the moment, although it is very difficult to talk at a camera sometimes. Like as I'm sitting here right now speaking to one, but I do enjoy it. But I'll probably get back to doing clients in the future, and that'll probably be with sport dogs and working dogs and everything like I was before. But the priority at the moment is to raise the pups and to get content out there for other people to then purchase and dive into the training that I do if that interests them and things like that. So one of the things that I've realized I enjoy, and then I've found a lot of people talk to me about, is tracking. So that's something I started only when I started raising the puppies. I'd never done that before. So yeah, that's quite an interesting thing for me.
Well, and it's also I've been watching some of your videos with Pat, and they're great, man. If you guys don't subscribe to Pat Stuart, and does Prime Canine have a YouTube channel as well?
Yes, YouTube. Yeah, we do. I do. There's not a lot on there at the moment. I do want to make more in the future, but I'm trying to put together the courses first, and then once that's up and people can access that, then I'll get into making some more free content and add more. It's just I can't do too many things at once because I just get too overwhelmed with it all, and just end up like, I don't know, not finishing one of them, or start blending things together, and it gets a bit complicated and messy sometimes. So yeah, hopefully there'll be more YouTube in the future, but just trying to knock out some courses and stuff first.
Fantastic.
I don't know if you can hear that plane overhead. Does that come through the microphone?
Just barely.
Okay.
Just barely. But so did you see, well, first, did you see that I tagged you? I tagged you and Prime Canine. So make sure you
Sweet.
share those because I want your audience joining us in real time in case they have any embarrassing comments or funny questions or no, but
I expect
it's like,
some maybe odd comments and people trying to stir me up or something.
yeah, stir me up too. I like being stirred up. And I just had my black coffee over here. So we got Hodge Canine in the building here, Joe and his beautiful wife Emily. You guys are awesome. I just interviewed Joe, and I know him very well. He's a great friend. I'd say Joe's one of the real ones. He's also an Army Ranger. Andy is here. What's up, Andy? Thanks for joining us, all from YouTube there. And where are you guys watching from? If you guys, well, first off, tell us where you're watching from, but also hit that share button as well so we can get this shared out far and wide. Chandler, Arizona. You're in Sydney, Australia, right, Jas?
Yes, that's correct. And it is about 8:15 here.
8:15 Friday morning, and it is 3:15 Thursday afternoon. I just made a badass veggie tray, you guys. I'm going to a group. Look at this. I'm gonna show it off.
You and your veggie tray, mate.
It's not Vegemite, but it's a veggie tray. So I had to bring in the Australian. Dude, I hate Vegemite.
Wow, we went there. We're on to Vegemite already.
Do you like Vegemite?
Yeah, but I don't eat it like a lot. I probably ate it more as a kid. Like I'd put it on toast, but the way that I put it on toast is very specific. Like I don't just smother it on the toast. It's just like a little bit here and there. But yeah, I don't really eat it that much as an adult now, probably because I don't really eat toast. Or sometimes you'd put it on like crackers for a kid or something. And yeah, I don't really eat crackers. So I just don't, the things that I would eat Vegemite with, I don't often eat now. So I just don't have it. All right, I'm sharing that now. I'm also sharing it onto my story.
Stereotype is untrue about the Australians. We've just learned from Jas. Like I ate it and I was just like, dude, don't ever feed me that shit again. I never, ever, ever want to eat Vegemite again, dude. I hated it. Dude,
I feel like it depends on like how you were exposed to it. Like if you had too much of it in one go or on its own, you know, like that's like I wouldn't enjoy that. Like if I just ate a teaspoon of it, I wouldn't enjoy that. If it was smothered on toast, I wouldn't enjoy that. Like, you know, so it kind of depends how you were exposed to it for the first time.
Smothered on toast. I thought it was like peanut butter and jelly. And well, do you guys have peanut butter and jelly down there?
Yeah, but we call jelly jam.
Peanut butter and jam.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think that's a particularly common thing either. So, all right, that is shared on my story.
All right. Welcome.
Whoa.
Friends and family of Jas. Jas is over there destroying Pat's studio there. So your first dog, what was her name? Her name was Jenta?
Jenta, yep.
What kind of dog was Jenta?
She's an Australian Shepherd cross Labrador. I don't know if you can see it. I think it's cut out of the frame, but she's just over. Where is it?
Watch
this.
Like,
yeah, there we go. She's on a beanbag over there.
I can't see her back in the darkness, but
she'll probably get up at some point and just poke a head through here.
So Australian Shepherd and Lab, you said?
Yeah, Australian Shepherd cross Lab. So she's got the blue merle colouring from the Australian Shepherd. She's got the appetite of a Labrador. So that's yeah.
Yeah, eat everything.
She was just like an accidental breeding or backyard breeding or something or other. And the rest of her litter died of parvo, unfortunately. She made it through, but was in isolation for the first 6 months of her life, which is kind of why she was such a mess when I got her, because she had no exposure to anything, not even to siblings and everything. She had to get bottle fed and everything like that. And it was just in isolation. So none of that important critical period stuff or exposure to just real world things. And obviously I knew nothing about dog training. I was like, all right, cool. They know what dog I'm looking for. They said this one was perfectly suitable, and I don't think they realized what it was going to take, or maybe the potential issues with the dog. I don't think they would have stitched me up on purpose, but I definitely got stitched up because I realized, oh, okay, this dog has some problems.
You bought her originally as a service dog potential?
Yeah. So at 6 months old, adopted her with the intention to train her and be that. Like, that's why I got the dog. And then, realized I was going to drown if I didn't get the right help. I did not have the skills or the knowledge to deal with that. The trainer that I was assigned through the program that was going to help me do it wasn't the greatest. Like, I didn't know anything about dog training, so it seems a bit odd to say this, but I kind of knew that she wasn't going to be able to handle it either. Didn't have the skills. So immediately I didn't have the faith in her. And then my case manager from the Army actually knew Pat because she was his case manager as well. We both, discharged with broken backs. So even though we discharged at different times, it was sort of similar timing. And she was like, "Hey, so like, I know a commando. He's just got out. He's into dog training. You two might get along." 10 years later, he's like a brother to me, and we work together. And I didn't see this all happening. Talking to Bow Wow Bill at 8 a.m. in the morning. So I didn't see me being a dog trainer or something like that. I didn't really have a direction, but then realized I quite enjoyed the process of training a dog, the psychology, the brain chemistry, the behavior science, and that sort of stuff. That's interesting to me. So
Well, and it's also, a lot of people that I've spoken to, Jas, are just like you. I mean, they get a dog. I mean, not necessarily like from the get-go, like a service dog.
Yeah, they don't set out to do it, but they end up going down the path.
Well, and it's also because they recognize that there's a need for it, because you went to somebody that was trusted. You got a dog that was supposed to be the right profile for the job that you're looking for. Do you remember what happened as far as Jenta's behavior that made you kind of think, oh man, this is kind of incongruent?
First week, I dropped a spoon in my kitchen on the floorboards, and much like a cartoon, where their feet run underneath them and they're trying to like run. So she's like just sliding on the floorboards trying to run away because she got so startled. And it's like, that could be a number of things, but I was like, well, that shouldn't really happen. Like, the dog I grew up with didn't do that. Like, when I drop a spoon or something, it didn't get scared. But like, there's a transition period and this and that. But then like, that was just one of the first things from the get-go, right? But then obviously as like days and weeks passed, a number of things, you could see that she was insecure, uncertain, quite fearful of a lot of things, like just general life things. And then I remember the first day that I met Pat, walked into his garage, and there was a grate, like just those drain grate things, and it's just a square one in the middle of this parking garage thing, and you could probably fit 3 cars side by side. That's kind of how wide it was. So there was plenty of room to walk by on either side of this grate. She wouldn't go to the other side of the garage because she had to walk past this grate. So it's not even that she wouldn't go on it. She didn't want to walk past it. So, like, that's a problem for a service dog or assistance dog prospect, or any dog really. But that was an interesting thing. And I think Pat realized immediately, like, shit, okay, we're in for an interesting time here. So,
it's good that you had the wherewithal about it to realize that, look, this shouldn't be happening. Right. And I dropped spoons.
I'd say it wasn't even necessarily like any good knowledge. It was just, hey, that's not what my childhood dog did. Like, and they were just, that's what a dog was, because that's the dogs that I grew up with, right? So you think every dog's the same. So like if my childhood dog was reactive and then I saw Jenta, I probably would have not thought anything of it. I would be like, that's a normal dog, because that's just what I was exposed to, you know? So like, I wouldn't say it's because I had any good insight or a good instinct. It's just literally based on a previous experience with my own dog, which apparently seemed pretty stable. So as a kid, but yeah, that's how sort of quickly I realized that, yes, there was things going on for her that were not ideal.
Yeah. Well, and then what made you think when you went to this that the Army sent you a trainer, or you were in a program?
Yeah, it was a program for ADF members who have got out, or actually it might have been specifically Army members, I can't remember, but members that got out and wanted to train a dog to be their PTSD assistance dog. Obviously, like, it had to be approved and deemed suitable for them and necessary for their development of whatever course of treatment they were having and whatever, like, you know, it's not just like, I got out and yeah, I'd like to train a dog for me. There was the steps you had to go through and approval and everything. And then there are certain trainers around the country that I don't know if they volunteered or if they got some sort of payment of some kind. I'm not too sure about that, but they put themselves on the list to be in the program, and I'm sure there was an approval process or whatever. And then that meant if a member who was discharging or had discharged wanted to work in that program, they would find a trainer that was local to them and then link them up. And then, you know, if there wasn't a match, they might get linked up with someone else. But I think the trainers were few and far between. So I don't think there was another trainer in my area, which is then why I had to seek help somewhere else. And that's how I got onto Pat. So, yeah, it wasn't actually associated with the Army or anything. It was just a program for those who had got out, and yeah, it was all kind of a bit intertwined. But not actually a government thing, I don't believe, or anything like that.
But you did work with somebody prior to Pat, right?
Yeah, for a short time.
And what do you remember? What made you think, "Oh, wow, this isn't going to work with the previous trainer"?
Like, what I know now is, looking back, I don't know what I would have described it as at the time, but the dog would shut down or suppress or hide what they were feeling, but it wasn't changing how they were feeling. So, and I was like, that's not going to be helpful. And then the methods that they were using, like, I'm a balance trainer. I use all the quadrants and everything like that, and what's going to work for the dog. If that means positive only for a dog, then I'll use that, knowing where that can take me. If a dog needs negative reinforcement, cool, I can go down that path. But with her at the start, we needed a certain kind of pathway, but I needed to develop a relationship and understanding for things first. But that's not where we started. We kind of more started at not heavy-handed stuff, but like more, like, let's say, corrections, like to make the dog correct and do the behavior, but she hadn't quite learned the behaviors yet.
Like it's compulsion, learning through compulsion, right?
Yeah, but then it's also like we haven't even stabilized her and how she feels in this environment that we're trying to train in. So like we had to work on building her confidence and like just who she is as a dog and her ability to just be and have like some sort of confidence in her before we actually start sit down, stand and heel, like that sort of stuff, you know? And I felt like that was getting missed. Like, I didn't know that that's what we needed to do. I know that now, but I just felt where we were starting and how the dog was responding to it wasn't suitable to her in that moment. You know, she needed something else. And that trainer, she's not a bad trainer. It's just, I don't think she either realized or maybe had the skill set in that area of what Jenta needed at that time. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like she worked with plenty of clients and had plenty of good dogs in her business or whatever. But yeah, I just felt like Jenta was a different kind of dog that needed something different that maybe she couldn't offer at that time. So yeah, came across Pat.
Well, she needed to understand the dog's pace of learning, and that dog needed to have some semblance, I guess, of self and being safe in the human world, right? And before we opening up the lines of communication, right, and developing the rapport. Rapport is power with any relationship, and that begins with love, trust, and understanding. And there's one of my mentors, Nelson Hodges, talks about the dog needs to first learn to trust you, and then learn to trust the situations that you put them in, and then eventually learn to trust themselves in a human environment.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And that's, it seemed like that was a step that was getting skipped. But then also something as simple as teaching, like working on communication and teaching what the tools mean, like what this tool is going to communicate to that dog, So she was put on like check chains and stuff, and it wasn't taught to her what this is going to mean. And if she didn't already know, let's say sit down stand, and we're trying to yank and crank her into a sit down stand, well, she hasn't learned the position, so we can't really correct her into it because she doesn't know it yet. And then we haven't created a good association or understanding what this check chain's going to do. So like for her, that wasn't the right tool to start with. If we wanted to use that, we have to teach her what she's going to do when she feels that pressure. Or if she's doing something she shouldn't, she needs to know that that's not meant to happen when we say something else, or whatever it is, it just wasn't really suitable to her at that time. But I had no problem with like the tools or like the method. It's just that could come later if she needed that sort of thing, but yeah, it's just not the place to start. It's, you kind of got to train the dog in front of you, which is something I'm acutely aware of now, especially training siblings at the same time, and they're so different. Like they're chalk and cheese. Yeah, it is. It's bananas, but it's definitely like improved me as a trainer, and being able to assess the dog like right in front of me and make a plan, just like really personalized to that dog. But then I'm doing that twice every however long, but at the same time, you know what I mean? So that's definitely I feel like improved my skills quicker than any other kind of way that I imagine I could do it. So that's, I think, maybe where the trainer may have been limited. Maybe she hadn't had lots of varieties of dogs or been exposed to one like that. I'm not too sure, but anyway, that's enough about.
At least you found, but at least you found Pat. You found somebody, and at least you had the wherewithal to recognize, hey, look, this is not working, right? And same thing with me. Like I started out as purely positive. And that's all I did because it felt good. And then I was watching these dogs get manic, get crazy, right? And I'm like, sit, and then they would sit down, roll over, do all their tricks, and I'm like, wait a second, I need stability.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they were trying to like jump to the next things.
Yeah. Yeah. They were anticipating the behavior and doing it, but there was no way of kind of no solid discipline that caused them to fall back into the behavior. And then if I did choose to discipline them, then it was like their whole world came down on them. Right. And so I was like, there's something wrong here. One, this, I always thought like, and I remember saying, what, this should work. From everything I've studied and known, this should work, but it's not, right? And a lot of times too, we go to people because we're people, and we communicate because we're the same species. But at the end of the day, when we're working with another species, we have to remember that they're our expert. they're the ones that are going to tell us if our philosophy holds water, if we're full of it or not, right? And that's where I was like, look, I need to find some well-trained dogs. I need to find some dogs that are doing stuff that I can't do with my dog, right? And that's how I found various trainers. And I joined the ICP, and I went there and I saw these amazing dogs, people bringing their dogs to the conference. Have you been to a conference?
Yeah,
ICP?
yeah. Yeah, I've been to a few. I didn't go to the last one. I'm not going to this year's one. I think I'm in the UK teaching a seminar at the same time as this year's conference.
Okay,
I didn't
cool.
go to last year's, but the year before, I think it was the year before I was a speaker at.
Oh, awesome.
I forget where it was located. Someone was talking to me about it the other day, actually, and I said a location. They're like, no, it was not there. Totally different part of the US. And I was like, okay, I'll just sit down. I'll just stay in my lane.
I'll just say the conference. I won't say exactly what it was.
I mean, I could describe the entire hotel, but I can't tell you what place it was.
I wonder if we went to the same conference.
But that was an interesting experience. That is probably the biggest crowd I've spoken to. I think there was 400 in the in the physical conference, but then there were more online and everything.
Florida, I think I met you there because Jas and Glenn. I mean, not Jas. Pat and Glenn were there too, right?
Yeah. I think that's where I met you in 2017 or 2018, whichever one of those.
You were brand spanking new, dude.
That was a huge thing, actually. That was other than like my deployment, that was the first time I traveled overseas. Okay. And that was the first time after like all my sort of PTSD sort of stuff blew up. So yeah, that was a huge thing, especially because being in crowds was a struggle. So like I've just thrown myself into giant crowds at this conference, but I had good people around me and everything.
2022, that was your last one, so a while ago.
There we go. Thanks, Kevin.
We got the audience to keep us.
I think I danced with Kevin at some point. Taught him like a swing dance or something. Well, not taught him, but I think I did a swing dance or something.
Jas, I need to visit you when I get to Australia. I want to go to Australia too. I just don't want to fly in a plane for 15 freaking hours. Michael Bishop's here. Andy's watching from Utah. You guys, since we got more viewers here, make sure to share this and then comment below where you're watching us from. Someone fell asleep when you spoke, but it wasn't me. Nice.
So I called them out in the middle of the presentation as an example, and I saw him falling asleep.
We party pretty hard at the ICP, just so everybody knows. Some people don't get much sleep, so.
Hey man, I'm not judging, no problems, but it teed me up perfectly for whatever the example was, which I don't remember right now, but I'm talking, saying whatever I've kind of had a rough idea on I'm going to say. And then I've noticed someone I've noticed maybe perhaps Kevin in sort of maybe the first third of the seating on one side, having a little nap. And I was like, okay, cool. And I've immediately seen where I'm going to go in like with this topic, the direction that I'm going. And then I'm going to give an example. And I quickly worked out how I could just like bring this napping person into my example. And I've said something like, yep, and blah, blah, blah. And, just like this person in the front row over here sleeping and having a little nap, such and such, puppies need a nap or, whatever it was. And everybody has then just gone and all like looked to find where this person was and just shocked that I've just called someone out. Obviously, I didn't name him until now. Thanks, Kev, for reminding me. But right? Hey, you fell asleep again, Kevin. I didn't call you out another time, I don't think. So you're welcome.
I wish I could sleep sitting up. I would sleep all the time, dude. But go ahead. Sorry, Jas.
No, you're right. You're right. But like, I'm not offended by that. Not at all. but it just teed me up perfectly to be able to give an example for something that I was like in the process of discussing, but then in a way that's engaging with the audience, have everyone laugh. Yep, he probably woke up, although went back to sleep. But it kind of just got everyone's attention again. Like if anyone was feeling maybe a bit bored or something, might have just sparked them up a little bit or whatever. So like I like to do those sort of things where I can. Like I'm not the greatest at that, but it's also what I know about myself is it's also a way for me to maybe like I can't think of the word, decompress a bit, like diffuse my own sort of stress, use a little bit of humor. Like I'm not comfortable, being in the spotlight. So, in case you haven't noticed, but if I can then use something to diffuse my own stress, but in a way that is also still beneficial to everyone else rather than detracting from what I'm talking about. Like if you can be part of it and helpful to them as an example, helpful to me to get out some stress, then like that's win-win all around. So sometimes I do that as a coping mechanism for me to continue being able to perform like the way I want to perform. So in other moments, if there's a door just opening and closing behind me in the wind and I go mid-sentence, I'm like, okay, wow, guys, that door is really annoying. I said that in the middle of it. I was like, that door is really annoying. I just lost where I was up. Let me just like go take a look at my note for a second, looked at my note, and then I just went on, So I'm also not afraid to do that because, shit happens. I got distracted. I'm not going to lie, I got distracted. And then I just continued on. But Kev falling asleep was pretty funny.
He says you're welcome.
The remote also wasn't working. It was not the one that we practiced with earlier where I had to go in and check all the equipment. When I walked up ready to do it, they handed me a different one. I was like, this is not the remote. This is not the one we practiced with. Oh, it'll be fine. It was not fine. Like I'm at one point, like I'm getting a little bit mad, and then I'm using this sort of like humor to diffuse myself a little bit. And I'm like, I'm no Harry Potter, man. I can't make this wand work. Somebody help me out. Like that was a little bit disruptive to me and everyone else, unfortunately. But, as I said, shit happens and you just kind of got to find a way to move forward without trying to detract too much from like the presentation that I was meant to be giving. So, but I really enjoyed that. I spoke about windows of opportunity, and that's not something I've really spoken a lot about in terms of like in a whole topic like that being this like the kind of sole focus of it, and certainly not to that amount of people before. But I called the seminar, the presentation, consistently inconsistent, and that's because the way I see it and the way that I was explaining it is you need to be really consistent with dogs for them to learn and everything, and then to start anticipating and then getting things right and everything. But as soon as they understand things, you want to be consistent with whatever cue, whatever mark, or whatever command that you're giving. But everything else outside of that you don't want to be a cue, it has to be consistently inconsistent, because otherwise they're going to go, that's a pattern, and they start paying off the other things, and they're picking up on other patterns in the environment or non-verbal cues that you're giving. So it's like once you've got your cues that you want, other things just have to be inconsistent to prove that it's not those. You cannot predict anything else. The only thing that predicts a certain thing that you're going to do is the cue that I have dedicated to be the cue. So a lot of it was around that. And then I used me teaching windows of opportunity as the way to convey that. So that was an interesting one for me. And it's something I got a lot of questions about, and is actually part of the course that Pat and I are teaching or creating. So people can stay tuned for that. I don't quite know when it's coming out yet, but that's part of it. But yeah, I didn't realize that it wasn't something I really conveyed much to other people or put a lot of effort into teaching, but now I do that a little bit more. Is there a way we can watch a recording?
Do you know if they have a recording available somewhere? I know I'm looking right
They're
now on
old,
all.
but I don't think they're there anymore. So I think they had them up for purchase for a certain time period, but I don't think they're there anymore. But stay tuned, follow Pat and my social media, wait for our course to come out, and you'll have the information that you desire.
There you go. Little teaser there. George is here. Whoops.
I'm just trying to choose my words carefully.
Brittany says the ICP presentation was amazing. Let me
Thank
see
you.
what other comments that we have here. Like I didn't shout out my buddy Michael Bishop. He's the man in Arkansas. He's a great guy. So now you have. Well, first off, how did you know that things were working with Jenta and Pat? How did you know that you were starting to make progress? What was, and how did you start the training with her?
There were multiple questions there. Okay, so how did I notice there was progress? Well, she was developing confidence. She's just changed. She was a whole new dog. But what's funny is I was kind of blind to her progress in a lot of things. Like unless it was teaching a behavior, like I did a lot of shaping. One of the things I shaped was her. Like I scatter a bunch of toys around the room and I can say tidy up and she'll pick them all up and put them in a bucket, right? So I was just developing a complex skill through shaping. That was easy for me to go, hey, you've improved, because there's very specific criteria and like it's very clear when she puts them all away and puts them in the thing, like she's obviously learned the behavior, as opposed to at the start she doesn't. Like that's very clear for me. But then when it came to her like her confidence and her personality changing and her development just as a dog, you know, in the world, that was harder for me to see her progress and my progress with her. I was a little bit blind to that. And it came time for us to do our public access test. So that's called a PAT. And that, like here in Australia, we have to pass a particular test with our dog before they can be certified as an assistance dog and then allowed everywhere. So we actually have to pass this test. And, you know, Pat prepared me for this. I did all the training, but like it's booked in and I'm shooting bricks. I was like, oh man, like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Like I didn't believe we were going to pass. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe in my ability to train the dog. It's not that I didn't believe Pat didn't train us or anything like that. It's I didn't believe in myself was the big problem. And then that meant I didn't believe the dog was going to be able to do it. No joke. Like we walked out of that test and I messaged Pat and I was like, mate, they weren't specific enough in how they wanted me to recall the dog, because they just said recall the dog. And I was like, but do you want to recall the front? Or do you want me to recall the dog to heel or like to middle? Like, what is it you want? And they were just recall your dog. So it's like we'd trained above and beyond the level that we needed in the test, right? Because it didn't matter. So long as the dog came back to you, it could have just come and you held the collar or something. They didn't care as long as the dog demonstrated a recall in that instance. That's all they were assessing for that moment. But I was used to training to very like precise criteria and things like that. So you know, we trained above the level that was required. And although Pat told me that, I still was just oblivious to it, like just blind. But then I came out of the test and I was like, oh, okay. I guess we've learned some stuff, Jenta. I guess I did train you. Oh, I guess we've improved. Like that's kind of how I realized things were working and stuff. Like in terms of like her development, but that's not because it wasn't happening the whole way. It's just, I was blind to it, you know. So that was what helped me realize. But that was, I don't know, however many, like maybe 8 or 8. I think I had to train her for that long before I could do the assessment. Oh, sup, Jay? Oh, I think I was talking to you this morning. Was that this morning or yesterday. Anyway, a memory came up. Oh yeah, okay, it was yesterday. A memory came up on Facebook between me and Jay, and it was for when he came out here the first time, and the photos were of the event. Yeah, man, he's. I was going to say he's 1 in a million, but he's really not. Like
he's one in 9 billion.
No, just 1 in 1. There's only one of him. Like, you know what I mean? There's no 1 in a million. There is no other of him, you know. Anyway, the memories came up, and the photos were of like his event here and everything, and then of Jenta doing the GRC tests and everything. And while he was here, she did the SR1, 2, and 3, knocked all those out, which is good.
No shit.
Yeah. First one, I also got 100% in the first SR test I did, which was the first SR that got 100. Very proud of that. Good job, Jenta. And
wow,
and
Jas.
then through the next 2 weeks while he was here. Thanks. The next 2 weeks while he was here, I knocked out 2 SR2s to get that title, and then 3 SR3s. So that was a huge sort of achievement for us. But then also some of the drive sports as well, mill race and spring pole and weight pull she did as well. So like I said, she's retired now. And I just judge the sport, don't participate in it with her. But it's, I don't know, it's something I'm still very proud of for her. You know, that's, a big achievement for us. It's not like we'd be out there doing PSA or anything. So for that type of dog, that's a sport that's great for her. So that was really fun to do. If people don't know what GRC is or what I'm talking about at all, look up GRC Dog Sports. There's a website, there's Instagram, like social media pages and stuff. GRC stands for Gameness Relationship Control and was founded by Jay Jack. And it's a sport that involves, thank you, there you go. It's a sport that involves like a social responsibility test, which is just proving that your dog is pretty much safe to be on a field doing high drive stuff. So making sure that they're safe, they have some general understanding of like some basic behaviors and leash communication and such. And then if you pass that first one, you can go into higher levels of that social responsibility test, or you can use that as a gateway into the actual drive sports. And there's mill race, wall climb, weight pull, and spring pole. And then there's different levels within each one of those. So there's multiple clubs, as you can see on the page, around the world. And it's for anyone and everyone. You know, you don't have to have a sport dog. Any pet dog or, you know, a dog that does other sports can do this one. So if you're interested in doing sports, have a look at this one. It's it's quite a fun sport. So find a club near you, create your own club, or just look up events and go trial. You don't have to be part of a club, but there's all the information that you need on. You're trying to find Australia, you went to Antarctica.
I know. I'm just trying to navigate this thing with my trackpad here. Yeah, there we go. Find a club near you. But if you know there aren't any, or you're not interested in joining the club, you can still participate. Just register with Dog Sports, and then that gives you the access to trials. So check it out. Well, aside from GRC, I do PSA, but not as a handler, a decoy, but I don't have a dog in that yet. One day, yes, but that's the sport I'm predominantly more focused on nowadays. What were you going to say, Bill? I just remember, and Jay Jack and I have done live streams as well where we talk about this, and we'll be doing one here shortly. As soon as I get back into town from this trip, we're just trying to arrange a time. I've been chatting with him as well. And you got a bunch of fans here. You got Caleb is here, and Brent says, love you, Jas.
Oh my gosh. You should ask Brent about what he did in my SR3, because he was the So there's someone on the field in the later levels in the social responsibility tests that is a challenge for the dog. There's certain rules, you know, they can't jump up on them and stuff, but they can be providing distractions and those sort of things. And Brent threw a spanner in the works. And if he would like to say it, he can say it in the comments. But
yeah, tell us
until
what you
then,
did.
I'll let you keep talking for a sec. You were saying something.
No, I'm just talking about J-Jack. And I shouted him out on my previous, just before you, with Laura, because she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and we'll talk about that as well. But there's a big jiu-jitsu crowd in dog training, and I find that interesting too. You know?
Yeah, that is interesting. Jay would have more to say on that and stuff, but I was in dogs first, and then I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. And then I met Jay. He explained what it was, and I was like, oh my God, that's a thing? That's what I've been looking for. I just didn't know that was a thing. Like all the things that you said, like this and like an outlet and wrestling, and like you can have aggression, but it's like you got to have some control and this, and like all the things that I'm trying to find. And I'm like, I'm going to the gym and I'm doing things. I used to coach CrossFit and stuff. And like I have things that's kind of ticking a lot of the boxes that I need and to keep fit and outlets and all of that. But there was something missing. And it was just, I needed to strangle some people. So like when he told me about it, I was like, cool, no worries. I met Jay on a Saturday. I signed up on the Monday, and I've been doing it for like 7 years since, or however long. But yeah, he then talked to me about like how a lot of people in dogs do jiu-jitsu. And then I feel like both like jiu-jitsu and, yes, as a handler, but also as a decoy for dogs, they very much play off each other. Like if you are skilled in one, it's going to help your skills in the other, and vice versa. So that's been a huge game changer once I started that.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. It's discipline, it's repetition, it's being calm, pattern recognition, strangling. Yeah. You don't strangle somebody in dogs. But
no, I was like, strangle people, not the dog. But but also like being a good training partner for the dog. So like think about when you're playing with a dog that maybe, well, for example, Jenta, right? Playing with a dog that has no confidence and is scared of everything. Like if I tugged the toy too hard and it made a noise on her teeth or something, she'd be like, oh. Like she'd then freak out and shut down and wouldn't want to play, right? So being able to build her up means I might have to play with my pinky, and when I tug it, it doesn't tug it too hard. And then she's like, hang on, like I can tug this, and I let her win. But I don't just go, oh, you won, you got the toy. Oh, okay, cool. Like, no, I make her feel like she earned it. I make her feel like she actually stole it. So when she then pulls it, I go, oh, and I scramble after it, right? Yeah, I could have just held on to that. I could have physically overpowered her, but I make her feel like she earned that she got that. I didn't just give it to her, because that's not fun. That's not motivating. If I go to the gym, like at jiu-jitsu, which if I say gym, I'm just talking about jiu-jitsu. So if I go to the gym and I've got a fairly new person in the gym and I'm more advanced or whatever, been there longer, and I can see that they're not confident in their ability, I'm not just going to go and completely strangle them and make them hate their life and not want to come back. Like that's not going to make them want to come back, which means I'm going to potentially lose a training partner. And I also just don't want to do that to someone. So what I do is like, I help build them up. I don't go, oh, you got the arm bar. Well done. Good job. No, I make them earn that. But they don't know that maybe I've allowed them to get an arm bar, or I've set them up so they can try to get it, like because I've made an error. Cool. I know I shouldn't put my arm over here because you can take it for an arm bar and it's there. But I'm going to make the mistake and have my arm here that you can arm bar, so you can recognize an opportunity and take that when it's presented again. You know what I mean? So like, I make errors but in a very specific way to give them opportunities, but without it being really obvious for them. So, for example, with a dog, I might go, oh, okay, like, I'm holding the handles of the toy. Now I'm gonna like change where my hands are. So I've gone to one hand and I'm gonna like miss the toy a couple of times, and you're gonna realize I don't have a good grip and you're gonna steal it. So me changing my hands was an error. You took advantage and stole it, right? The dog thinks that it did that. It figured it out and took advantage of that, and now feels really good because they won a point. You know what I mean? But it's like I gave them the opportunity to do that, but they feel good about it. And then I celebrate with them. So if someone gets that armbar, I'll be like, oh man, wow, that was great, nice, awesome. And we bump fists and we go again. If, however, they then decide to go brag to everyone that they beat the purple belt, then we have another roll and we go, oopsies, I put your ego a little bit too high. Let's just bring it down a little level.
Let's knock it down. Laura's here, the gal that I was just speaking with, the black belt in jiu-jitsu, and here she is right here. You guys got to meet each other. She's amazing. Hello. Jas, you'll love her. And
I just immediately got really shy.
Because you were talking about putting somebody else in check, and you're like, oh crap. No, but it's like, relationship centered, right? It's play-based training, right? And it just makes me like, if I was doing a keep away and trying to build that relationship with the dog, right? And just like if you ever hear like the plane flying over, I might look away at the plane. The dog comes in and grabs the toy. I'm like, oh, right. It's like you just kind of look for things to. It's just like with the kids too, man. It's like exactly. it's a loving, but I can knock out a kid.
Right? Probably if you might want to. But it's like it's something simple as if I'm gonna change the topic before I say something I shouldn't. So like if I steal the toy from the dog and I run away, I could easily just keep that out of height for certain dogs. They're not going to reach it, and
or never let them get it,
bite me or something, right? But I could also miss. You're just never going to get it. Exactly. So what I do is like I'll run away and be like, I got the toy, right? But I have it in a kind of position that they can get it back. Not super, super easy where it's just like, oh, I pretty much just gave it to you. No, that's not the motivating kind of like, you have to act like you really want it. Like you're playing a game, it's competitive, but I'm competing at a level that they can succeed at. So I present the opportunity where it's like I let it dangle down next to me and they go, ooh, you've got your back turned and I'm going to steal the toy from next to you. And then to start off with, I might go, oh, you snatched it. Oh, I'm going to get it. Later, as they grab it, I go, haha, I'm still holding it. And now we got to like tug a little bit. And then they tug that extra little bit hard. And you got to like, let them win. And I exaggerate my like, reach after it, that sort of stuff, And then they really feel like you're playing the game. And you celebrate their wins, that's, yeah. So I do that in jiu-jitsu. I do that in dogs. They go hand in hand, but it also helps to be able to toggle your own arousal and your own emotions within a game. But then also I think helps improve the skill of reading the subject, whether it's a dog or a human, but reading where they're at emotionally and mentally within the game, because that can change. I might be able to challenge them really, really hard between minutes 6 and 7, but between minute 2 and 3, for some reason, they really doubted themselves. So my level of intensity, the opportunities I give them, my defense or whatever, like that's going to change depending how they change within a role or within a game with the dog, So, I really feel like it helps you read your subject and adapt your yourself, your own emotions, your own display of emotions. Because just because you're feeling a certain way inside doesn't mean that you should be displaying exactly what you feel and that the intensity that you feel it to the subject. You might have to completely fake a different emotion because that's what they need to see. or maybe you're feeling super, super happy, but you can't quite let them know just yet, because then they get distracted and get all excited and mess it up, you know. So sometimes you have to withhold your emotions a little bit until the right moment, or change what you display to benefit the situation. So practicing in jiu-jitsu helps with doing that in dogs, and vice versa. And then with decoying as well.
Well, it reminds me of what Laura said to me is like, look, and just on the, with the shy guys, where we might make it a little bit easier. We also have dogs or people that might be coming into the jiu-jitsu room ring a little hot, right? And trying to prove a point and wanting to hurt, and they might hurt themselves, right? Because they're going so balls to the wall that they don't realize that there's purpose and movement and purpose in what you're doing. Same thing with these dogs, is that we have to be able to modify our approach with each individual dog or opponent so that they may gain the benefit or lesson out of the way that they are approaching the situation, right? And
no, I definitely agree with that, and that's a good point. Being able to bring down or bring up the subject's arousal, like that's a really important thing. You know how, like, with some dogs, if they're reacting to something, in to some extent, and their arousal's up because they're reacting, let's say there's level 7, and then we start to react and we're at a level 8 or a 9, like in our response to that. Well, now they're at a higher arousal, I'm at a higher arousal. We're both just going up in arousal. Like, sometimes you have to, I've had a blank on the word. Like, you want to show the arousal. You have to demonstrate what you want them to do so they can kind of maybe mirror. I can't think of the word.
Just like what Laura says, like she was just talking about how white belts are dangerous, the most dangerous sparring partners, same as dogs that don't understand the game, because they come into the situation all strength and survival, but not realizing that there is a technique here. And that's what you're trying to do with this little dance here, is show them a little taste of the technique.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, with white belts, sometimes, and it depends on who it is, everyone's a little bit different, but sometimes you just need to basically, like, kind of lock them into a position, whether that means you're on top and you're just putting pressure on until they go, like, they stop all their, like, frantic sort of, like, craziness, and then when they, like, settle and go, like, oh, none of that worked, okay, how do I do this? When they, like, kind of settle that down, you can go, cool, I'll back off a little bit of pressure now, like, let's just go a little bit of a slower pace. And if they freak out again, you go, cool, pressure on. You ain't moving anywhere. And then you can start to go, like, okay, there's a gap. There's a gap here, right? And they're trying to do all this crazy stuff. You want them to put their arm through here. Eventually, they might find the spot. They might put their arm through there, and then you're going to let them go through that direction and figure out a technique from there, and maybe take it back or whatever it may be. But it's like, sometimes you just have to control them, get their arousal down so they can then think a little bit more clearly. And that's the same thing with the dogs. Like, if they're too frantic, sometimes I go, hey, easy, buddy. Like let's bring it down a notch. Take it easy. Now take the toy and that's right. Let's bite it. Let's not just be snapping everywhere. Let's focus just a little bit, and I'm going to help you do this. So sometimes, you got to be able to toggle the subject's arousal, which is definitely something I've gotten better at with the pups, with all of them. But I feel like the more that I'm training, the better I get at that, because they're very different to Jenta, right? Like, they will put holes in me by accident or intentionally if I don't teach them how to target properly in play, or how to toggle their arousal and things like that. So it's like, because I've had to practice that more and more, and all of these dogs are different, that's something I think I've gotten a lot better at, teaching, not just me controlling their arousal, but me teaching them how to toggle their arousal. Oh, look at the
This
puppy.
is what it reminds me of is a video, episode 3, and where you're flipping them over, and sometimes
Yep.
they're losing their mind, right? But you've gotten them to a point now where they're controlling the arousal, and just like you're saying that he fell asleep, so I guess we're watching the movie now, right? Like, but
Yeah.
it's not always like that, and it doesn't start out like that, right? And this is
So,
episode 3 of
yeah.
Pat Stewart's channel. So, but that's
Yeah.
what
So
it reminds me of.
if you have access to go onto Instagram and show people, there's a reel recently on my page of I don't know if it was the same dog. I don't even know which dog that was. It was Peter or Parker, one of them. But there's some reels recently of them doing that now as adults, and me going through stretches, because like I have horses for dogs, man. These dogs are so tall, it's ridiculous.
Is it on this one
Anyway,
here? Or is it on the Pat's?
No, that one. So scroll down, down a little bit more, further. You'll see one of me like, stop, wait, there, right in the center.
I fucked up. This one?
Down one more. That one.
Okay,
yep.
Cool. Sound on. Oh, you're stretching them out here. I don't have the sound on the speakers here. So.
That's okay. So the only reason I said sound on is so people could, I was talking, but also people can hear him growl at a certain point, because I was assessing where he was sore, and he would growl just a little bit and let me know. And I'm like, cool, no worries. I see you, buddy. And then I was like, okay. And the other side, yep, okay, they're both sore there. No worries. And then I went through and stretched him. Then there's another one further up on the page. But basically, let's see where it is. To the left of where your mouse is. Yep, that one maybe. Someone asked, how do I get them in that upside down position? And well, they put themselves there. So he asks for this sometimes, right? He wants to be in this position. It is associated with like calmness and like, safety and stuff. But yeah, now because they've gone through like a really big growth spurt, there's also another one further up on the page where I'm actually stretching them. But now it gives me the ability to stretch them. So that one. So I can stretch them in all different positions, including laying down. So that all starts from that puppy drill, that vet sort of drill and nail trimming drill where they're upside down between my legs. Now, when they're full grown and they need help stretching and stuff, I have the ability to do that with them. And there's compliance there. They understand that, hey, this is a thing we're doing. You're safe. And what I find now is that they're kind of asking for it. They want me to stretch them because they do have some tight muscles because they've gone through this huge growth spurt. So being able to control their arousal and have them then toggle their arousal has helped me be able to do this. So that means, like, if they would be injured, I'd be able to do some. Look at that. Oh my goodness.
The same thing with all my dogs, right? Is that I can just kind of hold them. And that's what I call nook and cranny, right? Where I go through every little nook and cranny of their whole body and then see how I massage the necks. And just kind of let her.
Well, I can't quite imagine holding Peter and Parker like this because, like, my arms just aren't big enough. But, like, if I had a little dog like that, sure, I'd probably work on that angle too.
Well, she'll put herself in the position too where I know if she jumps up and then she'll do one of these where she leans back and then I'll flip her over and have her lean back on me too.
Yeah. Like how good is that? Like having the ability to
free shaping with negative reinforcement. Yep. Letting them, that's what he's talking about, like holding them, negative reinforcement, right? And then once they stop, then it releases, right? So we take away
Jay,
the negative.
You said you don't like shaping.
Boom.
Yep.
We got you, Jay. We got you. Jas, great. But negative, it means take away something and then reinforcing is to cause a behavior, right? So
Yep.
we're taking away the pressure, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, folks. Just
Yep.
so you all know.
And then when they find that spot, like I was talking before about an underhook, like, and I can have my elbow a little bit out, which obviously gives this little bit of a gap here that they can find, right? They'll try all these other things. When they get that right, then cool, no worries. I'm going to let them go to the next thing. But again, they don't know that I've like planned this whole thing out. They think they've discovered that, which gives them a sense of empowerment. And like, if you have someone lacking in confidence, they need that. And even for some, say, working dogs that they're not lacking confidence, we want even more confidence. We want even more heightened feelings of like this empowerment and stuff. So, you know, it doesn't just have to be for someone who's lacking confidence, but like you want more self-empowerment. So you want them to feel like they're doing these things, they're accomplishing things, they're overcoming stress. You know, they feel, in the jiu-jitsu example, like they feel the pressure, and then they feel like when they've gone through and found this gap, like they've released that pressure, but then they've also gone like, hey, I did a thing, not just turn the pressure off, I did a thing. So it's like, yeah, that's really empowering. And then you watch every time that they roll with you, then after that, what do they go for? They go for that thing. And I'll let them do it a few times. And then I go, cool, you've understood that now. I'm going to block it. There's no more gap there. Now let's present you with something else. And I give them a different kind of opportunity, make a different error for them to find and take advantage of. And now, so they know how to take the underhook and go for the back. Now maybe I'm going to allow them to do a certain hip escape and bring a knee in and recover guard. So it's like I will allow them to move their hip in a certain way that's going to reinforce them for, you know, a different technique. Now they're going to have two techniques in their bank. And, you know, this is how, like, I build up people in the gym this way. I wasn't like specifically taught to do this in the gym I'm in or anything like that. Like it's not something everyone in our gym does or understands, but this, I think, very much came from my understanding of dog training and psychology and stuff. Also, like things that Jay's taught me. As I said, he introduced me into jiu-jitsu, but it's like it's my understanding and passion for the psychology of things and behavior science and everything like that I think has really helped my jiu-jitsu in terms of helping other people develop their confidence or their level of understanding of techniques or controlling their arousal and things like that. So, yeah, I could talk about that all day.
Well, this is just like your presentation at IACP. This would be the window of learning, right? And then you're being consistently inconsistent by shutting that window as soon as they've shown that they understand by repeating the behavior over and over
and then,
again. Right?
And don't get me wrong, they will eventually get to the point where they can catch it, and I didn't intend for them to, and that is amazing. When they catch me on something that I helped them, like, kind of in the background, subtly helped them figure out, and they really catch me on it, you know how happy I get? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm like, shit, I got to figure this out and not let them like choke me or something, right? But I have that immediate like, oh my God, they did the thing. I'm excited. God damn it, I have to escape. So like, you know, I get quite happy seeing or experiencing whether it's like in the game or maybe watching them do it on someone else, like, you know, so watching from the outside, but watching their progress, watching their development, you know, and then watching like something like their confidence build up and everything like that. But yeah, that's, I think, what I enjoy about like dog training. I think that's what drew me to it. And then
there's so many consistencies, so many similarities. I can see it. I've never done jiu-jitsu.
Like I like problem solving.
Yeah, well, problem solving and pattern recognition, living in the moment. You better keep your wits about you, man, because, you know, and Laura said, it makes a good point. Sometimes there's positive punishment in the submission itself too, right? It's like, no, dude, like you're
so done. Like, for example, if you had another person from another gym, let's just say another purple belt came in from another gym, was quite arrogant and condescending and wanted to roll with you. So you roll with him and you're just kind of gauging where he's at. Like, how is this roll going to go? I like to, I'm not going to go like really intense on someone who just wants a bit more of a playful role, especially if they're from another gym and I don't know them. And as we're kind of gauging it out, I'm like passing his guard and I put my hand in the collar and I'm, no, he put his hand in my collar and then he was starting to set up a baseball choke and he just looked at me as I'm passing his guard and he goes, uh-oh, like in a real condescending, arrogant way. And I was like, in my mind, I didn't say this, in my mind, I was like, uh-oh's right for you. This is going to be so humiliating. There is a bunch of white belts who just heard you say that and I'm going to choke you and you don't even know it. So like, I didn't say that, but I'm like having this moment. I was like, no, straight face, don't show anything. Like, don't react to that. Don't give him satisfaction on that. And certainly don't let him choke you. But anyway, I knew what was going to happen. Like, he's setting this up, but I know that is something that's like, I know that that's a possibility when I do this particular pass. But I then use that to set up my own choke. So as they're trying to pull me into a particular baseball bat choke, where like the hands are like this, as if you're holding a baseball, and my neck is in the gap between the forearms, they pinch it together. I mount them. I then flip them over like a piece of bacon, stretch their arms out. They can no longer pull me like into this choke because their arms are up here. They can't finish the choke. I can either armbar them or I then get their collar and choke them. So I've gone from like,
I hate that shit.
Like threaten. I assume he's talking about the like and the like the condescending and arrogant attitude. I'm guessing.
I bet he does, man.
Anyway, I didn't say anything. I just flipped him over like a piece of bacon and proceeded to strangle him. He then tapped, and then I go, no problem. Like I hopped off. He sat up. And then he's like, I almost got you with a baseball bat. And I was like,
almost
right,
as a word there, buddy.
Fist bump again. But the thing is, he wasn't close. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, and then I just kept going. And then
dude, everybody's all fuck that guy.
Oh man, I want to roll with you again, Brent. Haven't rolled with you in a while.
Brent, I want to do one of these live streams with you too, Brent. If you're down,
oh man, do it.
Formally inviting you on a live stream to come on a live stream, and I met Brent and Kat in at an ICP.
They're amazing.
They're wonderful people, man. And congratulations, Brent, on your achievements in the jiu-jitsu world as well.
Oh man, he is so inspiring.
Cool.
Like, I'm very excited to watch him go to World's Masters this year. That's very exciting. I'm all jittery. Actually, I'm excited to see him in nationals. I think he's doing nationals next month. I kind of wish I was doing nationals. I've missed it the last 2 years, but
I don't know if you heard her before. If you heard Jas about the level 3 with the GRC, what you did to try to muck up her dog. But if you feel comfortable, then let us know in the comments what you did. Because, dude, I'm so intrigued. I'm like, what did you do? Did
I forgot about that.
Did he get naked?
He didn't do anything against the rules.
Okay, that's against the rules.
If he does, well, actually, I don't think that's specified. I think it says you have to wear enclosed footwear, but it didn't say anything about wearing pants or clothes. But anyway, if he doesn't write it, remind me soon, and I'll tell you. But yeah, so with that guy.
Together and have an open map between all the dog trainers who train jiu-jitsu. Yeah, that'd be cool, right? Man. Well, and her husband is a pretty famous jiu-jitsu. And before we get on with it, hold that thought. Okay, don't forget about what you were just going to say. But
me, I already forgot it.
Okay, never mind. Well, it says she loves the concept of building someone up. This was earlier. The dog while training, teaching them a game without destroying the confidence. Yeah, but sometimes their confidence needs to be a little bit knocked.
Yeah, I think of it as like
he wants you to tell us what he did.
Tell us. Okay. I feel like he's just a better storyteller, but I guess it's hard in text. So
I could send him an invite.
he oh, he's probably working at the same time. So he is on the field, and I think Alex Edwards was also on the field from Refine Your Canine, and Brent's from the Canine Company. Both were in Melbourne. So this was the SR2 that was down there. So the helpers, like we consider them helpers on the field because it's like decoys in PSA. Like they're there to challenge the dog. Like they have set rules and everything that they have to follow, and their goal is to not to screw up a dog or anything, but they have to challenge the dog. Like that's the competition, you know. So in the SR3 and the SR2s, there's distractors on the field, and they can be bouncing balls around, they can be yelling, they can be moving a giant ass ladder across the field. Like you should have seen the size of the ladder that Alex had. Just walked in this giant ladder and rested this up against the wall and put on the floor and this and that. Anyway, so Brent had a bag of chips, and there's no food refusal in this test, but your dog's not allowed to eat. They're not allowed to drink. They're not allowed to urinate, defecate on the field, right? General sport dog rules, I think, on pretty much most. Oh my gosh, you've got the test. I have long hair in this. So I don't know if you can skim forward, but if
Okay, I can.
Oh, actually, it might be early in the start. So he just picked up a bag of chips there.
I can't believe I found this.
Oh my gosh, neither could I. So he's got his bag of chips and he's just opened them from the start. If you skip forward to where he goes and sits on the yellow chair that I'm about to walk around, he at some point
right there
sits. There he is. All right. So he's sitting down. Right. He's got a bag of chips. Now, keep in mind, while I'm in Melbourne, like Jay, me, and Jenta are all staying in Brenton Cat's house. We are sitting on the couch. We are eating chips. Jenta is allowed to jump up on the couch. She's allowed to like jump up and like say hi, and perhaps someone may have given her some food at the house, right? So she's like, excuse me, sir, you've got chips. So I went and said, I'd like some chips. And I picked up the bag of chips from Brent because she's not going to take them from me, but she's more likely to take them from him. Then she went over and I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to get on his lap. I can't let that happen. So I sat on his knee, and Kat is in the audience. She's filming. I'm pretty sure it was her filming, and she's like pissing herself laughing because she knew exactly like what I was concerned about. Because she's allowed to jump up and on the couch and with us at the house, and like we had just been staying there like earlier that day, that the night before, everything like that. So I was like, I'm not risking it. There was no rules to say that I couldn't take a distraction. Like that wasn't specified in that moment. So I took the bag of chips and was like, yum, yum. And I was like, they were disgusting chips, by the way. I did not like them at all. And just took away the possibility of her jumping up on him, because she has a rule, like, she knows she's not to jump up on me. I'll ask her to come up and stuff, which mostly came from the fact that I was injured for a long time with my back and stuff. So we had some rules. Jay was not a fan of that face mask that Brent was wearing. There was a stern word there.
He walks right up to Jay.
He's like, mate, get away from me. And he's like, I'm not joking. But yeah, so like, yeah. And then I can't remember when Alex gets the ladder. He might be doing it now, but it's just like, I didn't expect for you to bring a giant ladder in, mate. Like,
yeah, here he comes right now.
And
you're doing push-ups.
Oh, I feel like maybe the bigger ladder. I think he had a bigger ladder in a different test. I don't think that because that's not the ladder that I was thinking of.
We set up. I feel like
because I had 2 SR2s and 3 SR3s. But yeah, I feel like there was a bigger one. But anyway, so yeah, they're on the field doing distractions the whole time and stuff. Now, the rules on what the helpers can do have changed and developed over time. Got a little harder in certain ways, but then easier, safer, more clear in other ways. Not that anything was unsafe, but it's to prevent any safety problems and things like that. But the rules have developed as with any sport. But yeah, this was kind of the first goes of this where no one really knew what to expect, and I did not expect all of this. Brent starts doing bridges in the background, like he's doing like warming up for jiu-jitsu and stuff. Yeah, it was a wild time.
But I love
yeah,
it.
so he like just the fact that he got food, sat down on a chair, and I was like, mate, this looks a lot like we're in your house right now. Yeah.
But I love how you kind of stepped in, and I mean, it's a test for the dog and the person, the handler as well. And I end up falling with people everywhere I go. That's what Jay says, I think, with this, that Laura and Jay talking about the rolling.
What was I going to say? Oh man, I forgot. See, this is how quickly thoughts go in and out of my head.
The house. You said it like he was. Brent was saying or trying to repeat or recreate your house in here. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Like I could have been mid-sentence and I would have forgot the rest of my sentence. But seriously, that happens all the time. You have no idea. I don't even know what we started talking about at the beginning of this chat or what we've covered in this chat. Like, anyway. But yes, there were 2 SR2s and 3 SR3s, different challenges and distractions in all of them. It's I remember. It's just as much of a challenge for the handler because you've got to think on the spot, but you've also got to think about what your dog's strengths and weaknesses are. You know, like if I thought my dog was going to jump up on him. Sorry, say again.
Never mind. You thought the dog was going to jump on him. I was saying that this was a bigger ladder, I thought, but
I feel like the one that I was thinking of was not a collapsible one, or an A-frame one. It was a you slide it up and it extends. But anyway, the handler has to be able to know their dog's strengths and weaknesses. So if I thought that, so I sat down just there in that example, right? Because I thought my dog was going to do something that they shouldn't. So I sat down on the chair casually, knowing my dog would see that and walk up to me and go, "Hey, what are you doing over there?" So that was to bring her away from something that she might have broken a rule on. You know what I mean? So I knew that if I sat down, my dog would just come over and say, "Oh, what are you doing over here?" But I'm not likely to lose many points for that because I didn't use formal obedience or anything. Now, I did lose a point because Jay could see that I gave handler help. I sat down and my dog responded. I also lost points for the handler help of when I took the chips and stuff. But what he said in this, he's like, now that his strut there, that's funny. He said, now she did lose points for that, but that is some like amazing handler, sportsmanship or whatever. Like that's kind of what you got to do. You've got to think on the spot. You've got to figure it out. But to do that, you've got to know the strengths and weaknesses of your dog. You've got to know what training, what foundations and stuff you already have in place that you can utilize within a test. So if, for example, Jenta went to chase a ball that they had, I could down her on the spot in motion, or I could recall her to me, or I could maybe just go like, and that's a less formal thing. I would lose less points for that. But if she was to respond to that, cool, I could use it. But if she wouldn't respond to anything but maybe a formal command, then I have to know that in advance. So if something happens, I can respond. But in that test, if you use formal obedience when you were not directed to as part of the test, you lose a lot of points because it's split up in certain ways where it's meant to be formal obedience in this portion. This part, your dog's meant to make good decisions on their own. This part, they're meant to pay attention to leash pressure and things like that. So it's you've got to be able to think on your feet, and that's what we all had a big laugh about later, because I took the chips and sat on his lap, and I didn't expect Brent to do that, and he certainly didn't expect to do me to do what I did, which, by the way, I would not have done that to anyone who was not a close friend and I knew would be okay with that. His wife was also in the crowd, like laughing hysterically. So, like, you know what I mean? If this was not someone I knew, I would not make them feel uncomfortable in that way. But it all became like a funny joke and everything. So much like in the SR3, we were on a complete open field, and the entire test is off leash, but because there was no, which the rules have changed on this, there was no perimeter, like a fence to the field, other than the fence around the giant whole football field, right? So once she exited the perimeter, because she's off leash, they're not expected to know where a drawn line is, right? You can collect your dog, but like Jay and I are talking and she's just wandered off. There's a fox running around the field and stuff, and she's like, okay, but I'm at calm liberty. I'm just going to go sniff over here. And then I was like, she's out of the field, like perimeter. Should I call her back now? So bring her back into the field, and then the point starts again once she's stepped into the field and stuff.
Okay.
But that was another thing where we were just like, there's a fox on the field at the same time. Okay, like whatever. That's what we're working with today. So not thinking that, like, specifically there will be a fox on the field. I have to know if my dog chased that, what could I do? Now, obviously she didn't, she knew the rules, this and that, but like they're things that if you don't know what skills you can recall in a moment of like, what can you use to help you, it's going to make competing in sports much harder, where there's leeway for people to Basil the fox. So that's on a field that Brent and Kat and their business run training at all the time. And yeah, they're quite familiar with that fox. But yeah, if you don't know your dog, then it's going to make it much harder to think quickly in those sports that allow room for the handler to make decisions like that in order to make the scenario go the correct way, or lose the minimum amount of points and things like that. So knowing the rules is really important for that as well.
When I first met Jay, it was I knew him from the Chad Mack and the podcast that he did with him, and then I met him at the IACP, and I love him. He's a wonderful guy, but he really opened up my eyes to some of the holes that are in dog training, and especially like formal obedience, and I love that. What do you call it? At ease, when the dog is free just to be a dog.
Yeah.
Right.
So like that's talking about windows of opportunity. So you're probably talking about free liberty.
Free liberty, that's right.
Yeah. So I spoke to Jay about it like years ago. And there's, we kind of call it, there's calm liberty and then there's free liberty. So calm liberty is like typically, you've got to have a lower level of arousal than in, say, free liberty. You can have whatever rules you want, but they're typically the two very distinct differences. They're both at liberty. The dog can be a dog, but there's certain rules in each one. Free liberty is typically more higher, like a higher arousal, and calm liberty is a lower arousal. But yeah, so free liberty.
So we were at the resort, and there were people. He had a little tug station set up there. And there was a couple things that happened. We were all gathering, and he was doing some GRC tests. I think just level 1. Holy shit! What a surprise! What's up, Blair? My dude, Larry Crone.
So Larry.
And one thing that he says is like, I need a flat collar. And he's like, we found out that nobody there had a flat collar. And he's like, holy shit, I'm surrounded here by dog trainers, and nobody can hand me a flat collar. And I was just like, whoa, that's pretty remarkable, man. Like these training leashes. Larry says, what's up, Jas?
So
and so that's one aspect of it, is like these training tools, right? They're training tools. And you got a mute button in case you need to cough really bad, really hard right there.
Well, that's good to know.
Just FYI, that's what I've been doing over here. I've been having little cough, little.
You know what? I don't even want to touch anything on this because I'll probably turn it off by accident. So.
But anyway, so training tools are just like training wheels on a bicycle. Like, you're not going to be an adult with your training wheels on. Right. There's some times to use them, but there's times that we fade them out, and we don't want the dog to respect the tool. We want the dog to respect the handler and have a relationship based with this person. And so that was one of the things that I noticed was like just a regular old flat collar is what we need. We don't need a training collar. And then the other thing that I noticed too is that so many of these dogs did not pass the Liberty test. They were so conditioned through formal commands, formal obedience, that they didn't know how to just be themselves in that environment. And I was like, this is such an eye-opening experience. I hope for everybody here, because the dog should be a dog. The dog should be free to, just enjoy life without having to be always on the clock, so to speak.
Yeah, and some dogs, they might be able to do that perfectly at home and everything, but they don't understand that that's a possibility or is wanted in other contexts. So that's where I like to have the windows of opportunity on verbal cues, not just contextual cues. Jenta has a contextual cue. The second you walk in my house, you're in calm liberty. Now, I taught that using a verbal cue, but now I don't need a verbal cue the moment she walks in the house. If I wanted to play with her, I can turn on her play window inside the house. She would probably look at me like, "Are you sure? I think you said the wrong one," right? Because that's like, she's lived there for however long, and that's not a thing that we do, right? I got a kind of small house and whatever, and it's like there's floorboards. She's going to break a leg or something, or a hip. She's getting old. She's 9 now. But I could if I wanted to. But I have it on a verbal cue where I can say she's in calm liberty, and that's what she's in now, sleeping on the beanbag, which I also just remembered isn't in your screen. But I'll have to get her over here at the end.
I can't see her, but
she is somewhere. This thing's backwards. I don't know how to work that thing. But anyway, I'll get her up later. But okay. She's in calm liberty here. I didn't want her initiating play while I'm trying to do this. Despite that would have been kind of cute, and maybe some people would find that funny and enjoyable, but for me it would be distracting. So I need her to understand we're in calm liberty. Now she can get up and wander over here, come say hi, and then when I go, hey, don't jump up here, we're not doing that right now, that's cool. She gets that. She can go get a drink. She could go stand at the door and let me know she wants to go to the toilet. That's cool. Chilling in the dark abyss. Yes, she is. She's just melted into that giant beanbag. So she can wander around. She can sniff. If there was a particular, if there was a Kong toy, just, not with food or anything, but just a Kong toy here, she could chew that or something, but she knows she can't chew a tug. There's certain things that she can and cannot have. But that means that I have the ability to ask for this anywhere. I can ask for this outside at a field that I just trained at in high arousal. Not that she does much high arousal training now, but I do the same thing with the puppies. So when we finish a bite work session, it's something we're working on at the moment. When we finish a bite work session, I can then say finished, and they're safe to walk around. And they could say hi to people if I allow that, or they can just walk around or just lay down on the floor, and they understand, hey, the work's finished. You're no longer biting the person. Pat could walk past safely, and things like that. So they understand how to switch between tasks, between expectations, between level of arousals, and toggle that level of arousal and their drive state, and their emotions and everything. So. Now, we don't do that at the end of every session, but that's something that we're in the process of developing. And before I sell them, it's important that they can cleanly and without conflict transition between each one of the windows. So for me, I have, which by the way, J-Jack's the one who introduced me to the concept of windows of opportunity. He gave me that phrase, he introduced me to that, and then I've gone with it, right? He gave me the term to be able to explain something that I didn't know that I had developed with Jenta. That's how she could do what she did. That's how she could be an assistance dog and be calm and do the work in a level of arousal that I want. But then when I switch to play, she's on fire. She's very energetic, very playful. But then walking through a shopping center, going to a restaurant, being in the cinemas, she isn't under formal obedience, a sit stay, or a formal heel, or sometimes she can be, but she understands she must maintain a level of arousal even if we're just casually walking through somewhere. So he helped me have a way to be able to teach and explain what I found success in with her, because I had no way to really explain any of that. So now I can teach other people how I teach this. But yeah, it all stemmed from after I met Jay, and that was a phrase that he kind of just threw across in one of his seminars and kept going and talking about something else. I was like, whoa, hold up, what was that? Like, more of that, just that, whatever that was, more.
A little whiteboard teaching that he does, he'll go up there and
right. But yeah, so for him, it might not have been like a huge thing, but that was like something I really picked up on and was like, hey, that, like, I want to focus more on that. I want to learn more about that. So yeah, that's a huge part of what I do with the pups that I raise. So then when they get sold to law enforcement, well, one of the ones I've got at the moment is for a private sale. I can't remember which set it was, but Pat and I sold the one of the sets of dogs to someone, and we did some tracking. We demonstrated some tracking. We did like high drive bite work, and then we didn't know the vet was about to walk out and ask for their vet assessment before we handed them over. And I was like, oh, we just finished bite work. Oh, what was the vet here? Oh, okay, cool. Like, finished. Let's go. Like, lay down. And they're like, oh, we're finished. No worries. And relaxed and let the vet do everything that they needed to do, including, yes, checking their teeth and looking in their mouth after the vet just saw them like bite some people. But the vet felt confident to do it because they could see that the dogs clearly just switched. And just as quickly as they switched, into calm liberty, they can switch back into the work, So that I feel like is a really important skill to be able to teach the dog. So no matter what home they go to, whether it's a working dog role or a pet home or a sport dog home, whatever it is, like, that's invaluable, that it pays dividends later, because it means that they have so much more flexibility. It means that they can take their dog somewhere and not have them lit up by accident by like a contextual cue that they didn't intend. And now suddenly the dog's like exhausted and gassed before it even got out of the car and started working and stuff, So it's a really good skill. And I spend a lot of time working on that with the dogs because I also have to live with them. I live, I have neighbors. I live in, a normal suburb. I don't live out on acreage or anything like that. So I can't have barking dogs. I can't have problem dogs like trying to escape the yard and all those sort of things, and barking all day trying to work and make something happen in the yard when I'm not there or anything like that, or in their kennels. So part of it is I got to live with the dogs, but it's also just the benefits that it gives everyone else who buys them after. And it's like, if people think about it for, say, for example, PSA, we were talking about this to someone else the other day. This windows of opportunity thing can help set them up for a trial day in a PSA trial. You've got to get your dog out of your car, be in the on deck area at a certain point. When that other person comes off the field, you've got to get on the field, get your dog into whatever mindset that they need to be in, whether it's the obedience portion or the bite work portion. Then when you finish your test, you've got to stay on the field where your dog can still get disqualified. If it bites someone it shouldn't, or urinates, defecates, whatever, it can get disqualified. And you have to stay there on the field while you're getting critiqued and getting your score announced to everybody before you can exit. So you can still fail while they're telling you you're passing. You could get failed immediately there. Yeah. If you have the ability to do this high drive bite work and doing all this crazy, exciting stuff for the dog, and then go, hey, bud, we're finished. And they can just go, okay, switch drive. Let's be calm liberty, low arousal, and then get your critique from the judge. That can make that whole portion way easier. Now, you could also just down your dog for the 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever that you're getting critiqued. But it's also if I down my dog, I'm going to want to hold them accountable to that and make sure that they're not doing anything in that moment, because otherwise that's going to deteriorate my down commands. I want that to be precise. So if I can just say, hey, you're finished, they have the flexibility to maybe just stand, maybe stretch, lay down. They can look around, there's a bit more flexibility on how they can be but you just have to be a low arousal. And for me, there's no urinating or defecating in the calm liberty window. There's no playing with toys in the calm liberty and things like that. So you can create your own rules, but there's some of mine, which gives me the ability to use that in a test if I need. This is part of the portion of the GRC, the third portion of the SR, where they're in the social, they're in the liberty portion, right? So just as we're about to start that liberty portion, I tell the dog, you're finished, and they'll go chill out. They just have to do that for 2 minutes. That's that part of the test. If I said they were in free liberty, they might start running around and doing zoomies, because they're allowed to do that in my free liberty window, right? If I say free, you can chase birds, but if you're inside, you could do zoomies, right? But in the test, they're not allowed to do zoomies. So that's that's how I can use the different free liberty and calm liberty in a test.
And finished is your cue for calm liberty, right?
Yeah. So for mine, so the 5 windows that I have, I think Jay has 4 because he does not like shaping, apparently.
No, he does. He likes negative reinforcement shaping. We heard it right here exclusively on the Powwow
when it's like getting an underhook and taking the back and jiu-jitsu stuff. Nah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just stirring. But so there's calm liberty. I say finished. There's free liberty. I say free. There's the play window. I say kickoff. There is the work window, which the moment I give an obedience command or any formal command, like if I tell the dog to sit, that's immediately putting them into the sit window. That's immediately putting them into the work window, because that is a work command. And then if I say for Jenta, I say go to work, and for the pups I say shaping, and that puts them into their shaping window. So they're the 5 windows.
Operant, right? So go to work. That's mine is want to work. Yep. Whoops, I shouldn't say it too loud here. My dogs will be running all over my desk and stuff. But that means that, hey, look, there's pay, like checkbook is open. and it means I want you to be active. Yeah, I want you to be active and creative, and who knows what's going to get you paid in here.
Yeah, try to figure out the problem for today. Try to figure out what's going to get you paid. Go try some stuff. Be operant. Explore some things. And like I said, I did a lot of this with Jenta, and I used that to bring a lot more empowerment to her. When she overcame things, because I would shape her to do things that she was kind of scared to do, even walk on a tarp. She was like, it's not happening. So I shape her to do it. And then when she goes through that, she's excited by that. In fact, she was laying on essentially a tarp. It was plastic packaging that was for something at home, but it was a giant thing. So there was a giant plastic bag essentially on the floor in my shed with a bunch of other, stuff around. She went and laid on the thing. It wasn't comfy. She just went and laid on it because she's not scared of it anymore. And that's just the spot in the sun that she prefers to lay in the yard at that time of day. She also has gone previously, and this was before I finished kind of finalizing the boundaries of the shaping window. She was still at the point where she thought she could turn on the shaping window by herself. If she just did things, she'd look to me and go, did that get me paid? I'm like, hey, you're not shaping right now, right? So, but before we solved that, she would walk herself to a grate, the one that I said earlier that she wouldn't even walk past. She went, and actually this was at a NePoPo school, funnily enough. I was in the car park. I was talking to someone and she's on leash. She went to the end of the leash and laid on the grate next to the gutter that we were standing at, and just laid there. And she was like, hey, this usually gets me paid. Are you going to pay me? And she just laid there. I have the photo of it. It was down in Melbourne, and it was during one of the repeat silver schools that I did. I went back a few times to to take away more, like as I'm ready for more information, I get so much more out of another one, as opposed to the one I did previously, so even though
you see it
they
with
could,
different eyes.
exactly,
Yeah.
like even if everything that was said and every example and every person was the same, I would still take away different things because I had progressed, and my level of understanding and what I was willing and able to hear had changed, So I thought that was quite funny that a dog that wouldn't even walk past one at a distance would then go and lay on one. But this is the thing, there's the power of like empowering your dog, having them overcome things, but in a correct way that really not just forcing them to do it, like having them actually feel like they overcame it and feeling that confidence, so, but again, like I said, you got to put like boundaries around this. Otherwise, like this is why shaping windows of opportunity is really important, because like, especially if you're doing shaping, you don't want your dog trying to shape just all day, every day. Like that's how you have a dog that's staring at you trying to offer you stuff, and like they're trying to make you work. But if your dog can understand, hey, no, we're switched off right now, but then you can switch them on at any point and go, hey, we're working now, or like we're shaping, or you can be free, go chase birds, do zoomies, whatever. It can prevent a lot of problem behaviors, because the dogs who are doing things that are not necessarily something they're not allowed to do, but they're just doing it at the wrong place or at the wrong time, it's seen as a problem behavior. But it's not that the behavior is wrong, it's just not at a convenient or appropriate time. So it's like, if they understand when it's when it's appropriate to display certain behaviors, then a lot of pet problem behaviors would go away, So, but yeah, I forget why.
With tools too, and I look at your 5 windows: calm, free, play, work, and go work, right? So then we have the calm is what the hell is that word? Finish, free, kick off, obedience. Well, whatever the command, obedience command. Yep. It goes go to work, and then go to work would be the start of the shaping. But I also use that once I start the operant stuff to counter condition, especially things just like the grate, just like the tarp. For me, a lot of times it's an e-collar that has been conditioned incorrectly for some of my dogs as pet dogs, right? And then I'll get the clicker charged or something that I can, start to switch that conversation, and then I'll bring in something into the environment that dog maybe was apprehensive towards, and then show them, just kind of flip the script a little bit of like, click, that's going to get you paid now. And now the dog starts to approach that thing, and the dog starts to tolerate it a little bit more. And then the dog starts to look forward to that coming into the environment. So it's a good way to counter condition. But I tell people, especially with high drive dogs, like this dog's easy to turn the switch to work on. It's more important that this dog understands when the switch is off, and how to turn that switch off, and then also how to really let that dog and prepare that dog for a correction in case they try to test if that switch is off. Is it really off? Right? And just be like, dude, it's off, man. Don't take my kindness as a weakness. And then we can have either the negative punishment. Like it reminds me of Pat Stuart when his dogs would play in the house, boom, they'd go in the crate immediately. It's like, so that's a form of negative punishment. Like, you're going away, you're not going to be present if you're going to act like a fool. So the dogs start to learn that window of calm is associated with this house. Like, as soon as I come into this house, I need to be calm if I want to, maintain my presence here. Or positive punishment, a correction. But now we have prepared that dog for the correction by building the relationship and showing them, hey, look, not now, and or as you say, free, which free I can see can kind of maybe drift into want to work, right? Especially if that dog sees something that interests them, and then we would say, no, finish. Or for me, it's all done, right? So if want to work is like, go ahead and operant, And then if they get paid or they hear that click, then it's like, that's even more of a reinforcer of like, oh, it's on. But all done. And I do a free as well. I do a break, right? Break is my free. But all done means like knock the shit off and chill out and be cool, be calm. Otherwise, the next thing that's coming is, it might be a correction or a punishment, negative punishment. I'm going to put you away, or a positive punishment. I'm going to add a correction in here to make sure that you know that we're all done. Knock that shit off. I don't need you to be acting this way in this particular environment.
Yeah. And one of the ways, like, because as soon as I get puppies, like this all starts happening, right? So like 7 or 8 week old little puppies that little Mallows run around, want to chomp on, and everything, they're going to have an off switch because they're going to sleep at some point. So I try to find out, like, when's your natural point of wanting to sleep? Like, how long do you have to be awake before you're going to fall asleep again? Or what do you need to do for you to feel satisfied to fall asleep, like, and rest easier and blah, blah, blah. Every dog's a little bit different. So I try to like find out what kind of like timeline they have in the day, like for their own like drive fluctuations and everything. So when I'm teaching it, I can set them up for success, and I won't go into all the detail because I'll talk about it forever, but this is something that Pat and I talk about in a lot more detail in that course I mentioned earlier, where I talk about real precisely. There is a bug flying around. Talk about
here too.
Sorry, what's that?
Here too. There's a couple of them.
I don't even know what bug it is. It's not a normal fly, but anyway. So like working with them, setting them up for success, and then when I'm able to do that successfully, start putting that on a verbal cue, and then like challenging them slightly where maybe I do it a little bit outside of their normal rest period, but they're like getting close to being resting. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but still setting them up for success. And then slowly, just over time, as they get better and better at it, making it harder and harder until you can go from like high drive bite work or agility or dock diving. I don't know, anything that excites your dog, hunting, I don't know, pigs or something, whatever. And then when it's done, I'm trying to be diverse here, all right? I've pulled a blank up. Pig hunting, okay. Anyway, but like anything that is really high drive, and then be able to go like, great job, buddy. Now let's have a rest. Like, how many humans would like to be able to do this? How many humans have a problem switching off at night and going to sleep? If we're like, you know what I mean? So it's like, there are certain things we can do to help ourselves with that. Set up our own patterns. So like that are going to put us in the mind state and create a routine that sets us up to fall asleep easier and go into a more restful state. Same thing for the dogs. We can have a bit of a routine to set them up and then put this on a cue ahead of that, so we can phase out the help along the way. But yeah, it's a really important skill. And like if I was doing like say agility, I'd want to be able to warm my dog up. So like physically and mentally, they've warmed up, they're prepared, their muscles are good, they're in the mental state of like, yep, we're going to do a thing. But maybe then right before we walk on the field, I might want to go like, hey, we're going to have like calm liberty for 2 minutes, catch your breath, like your body's warm, but just like compose yourself. And then we're going to go start an agility course. So you can then do like, you're warm, but now you can do your optimum performance, right? So you can reach your max potential at the intended part, the part that I actually want you to do the most and the best that you can. Whereas like, if they were cooking off, waiting to go on, and suddenly the person before took too long to come off or something, well, what if your dog's gassed before you even get out there? So like it could help in all sorts of situations. And then finishing, like, I don't know what they do at the end of agility. I think they can come off and bite and play with the toy and stuff. But it's like if they then have to go to a cool down now to make sure that they don't get injured and stuff. We want them to be able to switch out a drive and then go get stretched, much like I was explaining before. You showed the videos of me stretching the puppies and stuff, so that's, really important. And I feel like I just spoke about what I was talking before and I forget how we got onto this.
Well, but it's basically rest, and there is a thing called a circadian rhythm, right? Because we're biological creatures. We belong to this 24-hour phase cycle on the planet Earth. And if we have this rhythm, then you dang right the dogs have it as well. And I know that dogs have a different circadian rhythm as puppies than they do as adults. And for instance, like every afternoon with my dogs, like here pretty soon, it's 5 p.m. here. And it's basically what I do is I say one word. I'm not going to say it because they're going to lose their damn minds. But I say it's actually GATE is the word, because there's one right out here in my field that they know that's they can run through that thing and then they're free liberty to go pee, poop, and run like maniacs. Okay, then it's crate time, and I put them in my barn, and then I turn off the lights and they go to sleep for a couple hours. And with my puppies, I do that like clockwork, and know that the circadian rhythm for the dog is about 2 hours before the natural sunlight happens is when dogs typically wake up. Oh yay, it's really super early, but it's still how
I'm out tracking then. I'm out early tracking, so it works for me.
It's right. And so and then they go down a lot during the day. Then they come back up as soon as the sun starts going down. And just watch your dogs. But at noon, especially for my puppies, till about 2, and then I have them a couple more hours up, and then I'll run them in the field with the rest of the dogs, and then everybody goes up, and then it's dinner time, and then some more free time obedience for my dogs. And then that's when it's really like, because it's dusk, and that's when the dogs seem to really be active and really intermingle, play, all that stuff is during that time. And then it's nighty night. Then everybody goes in their crates for the entire night. And I think that having them on a schedule, having them on a routine is very, very important. And you can utilize that to your advantage too by starting to structure your training cycles during the times that they're naturally starting to get tired or their energy is peaked. One more thing I want to chat with you about. I want to talk about PSA, but I want to talk about you decoying. And what got you involved with decoy? Because even on your Facebook page, it's you in a bite suit. I don't know, now I got to pull it up here. So tell me about decoying. What made you start with the decoy work? And what do you think about that, Jas? And
so what started me on the decoy work? Well, Pat had helped me train Jenta to a level like higher than I thought was possible, and put a lot of I still remember when it was taken. Wow, I haven't changed my profile picture in a long time. So he put a lot of time and effort into working with me, helping me be successful with my dog, but then like mentoring me, and like I became friends with him. Like I care about him a lot, and I wanted to be able to give back, but I'm like, I can't give him dog training advice. Like I'm not at that level. He's still a mentor to me at that point. And I was like, but what can I give him to like say thank you, but also like as an ongoing, like he's still at that point, like was still helping me. And I didn't have anything kind of to give back. And then I was like, well, I can help train his dog and be someone who gets bit. Like he's training his dog to bite people and we only have so many of those. Like, oh man.
So
I think that was pretty soon after I got that suit, because he actually bought me my first bite suit, and I very quickly outgrew it. Well, not outgrew it. I shrunk out of it. I lost like half my body weight. Long story, but like after the back injury and after I could come off some meds and stuff, that weight gain was a major side effect of. I lost the weight, and then I needed a new bite suit. So that's where that bluish greeny black one came from. Prior to that, it was green and pink. But anyway, so decoying was my way to be able to give back to him, because there's still ongoing help, and I don't feel like I could give him training advice, but I could still do something to help his training, and that was to be the decoy. Downside is he had to teach me how to do it, and that meant it was affecting the training of his dog, because his dog's learning how to do all the bite work and I'm learning how to decoy. And if two people don't know how to tango, it's kind of hard for them to learn to tango together well. It's going to take longer than if one knows how to tango and only one has to learn, So we were both kind of like, the dog and me were both learning. So Remy and I have an interesting relationship. It's funny because I've been around for his whole life and stuff. He stays with me now sometimes. As my little childhood pup. I have a very soft spot for labs.
Look
especially
at you, Jas.
Tell me this: how old do you think I am there?
Like 6.
I was 11.
I think you're 11 now. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. Everyone says maybe 5 to 7 or something like that generally in that photo, but I was 11. So it started off to be able to give something back to Pat and help him with his training, knowing that I didn't have much skill or knowledge, but this was something that I could do. And then doing that, I was kind of aware that the person in the suit was doing the training in bite work situations, but I didn't think I was doing the training for Remy because I didn't know anything. Pat's still teaching me, so it's like he was still the one doing the training. But I could see that if I could learn to decoy, that is still being a trainer from the teeth end. You know what I mean? So it's I could see the parts of decoying that I enjoy, which are the same parts if I'm teaching a dog to sit down, stand, heel, complex behaviors, put your toys away, whatever. So it's just from a different end in a completely different drive state, in, different level of arousal, and things like that. So I started to, there's the green and pink suit. I think that was I was needing a new suit by that point, but I just didn't have one. That was after I finished the decoy cert. I got certified as a PSA decoy, and I've decoyed, I think, all the trial, or as one of the decoys in all the trials in Australia so far. But now that more decoys are certified, it's not that I don't enjoy being a trial decoy, but like I was just saying, I could see the side of decoying where you're the trainer, and I really enjoy the process of teaching from the teeth end. So I enjoy the training process, not necessarily the testing process. So I don't actually enjoy testing the dogs on the field. I enjoy going through the training process with them. So that's where I'm like, okay, I'm certified as a decoy, but eventually I want to, I'll let my certification possibly lapse, and not do that anymore once maybe there's enough in Australia consistently staying certified and doing all the trials. Because I'm not. Sorry.
Why do you think you don't like the trials? Is it because the dog's failing and you have to really push it? What is it?
No, it's just okay. Sorry, it's not that I don't like it. It's I enjoy the training more. Okay. So if I'm not needed for that, and eventually I want to be competing, I want to be on the field, not trial it, not testing dogs. I want to be competing in the sport.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
I don't like watching sports. Okay, let me say this very clearly. I don't like watching sports. I like doing sports. So even though I'm testing dogs on the field as a trial decoy. No, I want to be a handler on the field. I don't want to be judging GRC. I want to be doing the sport.
You don't want to be a spectator. You want to be a player.
Exactly right. Even though I'm on the field and part of it, no, I want to be competing. Okay, but I do these parts because it's been necessary to get it all going. I'm in the process of trying to train other members of GRC to be judges, so then they can judge and I don't have to judge all the trials. Like, I want to develop more judges. I probably won't compete in GRC because, like I said, Jenta's retired. But you know, that's what I wanted to do. But for me to compete in GRC, I had to create a club here, bring the sport like here, have it like start building up, which meant I had to have a club. I had to become a judge because otherwise we could only have a trial if Jay came out. So me becoming a judge allowed for a few more trials and stuff when he wasn't here, those sort of things. So I did that because I kind of had to, not because I wanted to be a judge. I don't like the pressure of judging. Let me tell you that. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to plan.
Judge
Now,
Jas
sure,
sounds good though. Judge Jas sounds really good.
Not if you're a competitor. They're like, anyway, so like I do it because it's part of it. It's why I started decoying, because it meant I could give back something to Pat and the other people like Glenn as well, who were playing a role in my development, but I couldn't give a lot back to them, but that was one way that I could. I then like obviously understood that you're the trainer at the teeth end. So I enjoyed that part of it. So if I could get my skill to a good enough level that I can be that consistently in a club environment, then that means I can attend a club, even if I'm not competing in the sport, but attend a club, do something I enjoy by training these dogs, but from the teeth end in that decoy suit. But yeah, that's why I got started in, I don't know if that was a giant bang here or in your end, but
Zero. Oh, it might have been
right,
this.
okay.
My dog just jumped up on the chair here. This pecan,
Well,
the fat one.
The
fat one just jumped on here.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why I started decoying, and then I quite enjoy the training, obviously, so I'll continue that as long as my body allows it. I think that's sometimes the
crutching dogs is taxing.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, like you know, Pat and I both have a ridiculous amount of injuries, but we both,
Especially
we still decoy,
dude.
But it takes a lot to be able to maintain our bodies to do that. So I do it within my body limits, but I can do that now as well because we have other decoys in the club as well. So yeah, that's how that all got started. And obviously the certification was part of the process, so I could be on the trial field to test the dogs. But that was an exciting thing because it was like, the way I saw it was, it's a way to set a goal and work towards something for sure. But then being able to certify was kind of like hey Pat, you've taught me, like I did the thing. This is an achievement for you as well because I feel like he taught me. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like a kind of like this is whether he thinks of it like that or not, I don't know. But like, it was almost like hey, this certificate, this accomplishment I did is yours as well. Like, you know what I mean? So,
it's like this.
But it gave me the ability to, it gave me the ability to be on the trial field. So, as the decoy, not the handler though.
Do you think PSA helps with GRC, or do you think GRC helps with PSA, or
both? They both have skills that can be used in the other, and I mean, hey, it all comes back to windows of opportunity. Like, there's things in GRC that would be beneficial in PSA. Like if you can develop that skill through GRC, like that could be of benefit there, and then vice versa. Like, if you're already doing PSA and you want to do GRC, there are skills that translate over that would help you and stuff. So, but I feel like you could find lots of things in lots of different sports that would help with others. It's just interpreting and understanding what you can use in different ways and stuff, which again comes down to knowing your dog's strengths and weaknesses, but then knowing what skills you have you know, or what tools you have in your toolbox to pull out on a field, and go like, hey, I can use this, because that's going to help me get through this scenario, or whatever it is, this test, this competition, whatever. But yeah, it's sort of like, I guess, kind of like jiu-jitsu. If you get injured, you have to recognize that's a weakness. Doesn't mean you can't train or you can't compete, but you have to adjust your game to compensate for that. But you have to acknowledge that that's something like that's going to affect X, Y, Z, and then know immediately how to move on from that. Like I didn't know at the time. I dislocated my collarbone in a competition. I heard it. I thought I just broke a rib, and I was like, oh well, it's broken, I guess. Just keep going. Can't get worse. It can get worse. I don't recommend continuing. If you broke a rib, you might puncture a lung. I didn't break a rib. I dislocated my collarbone, which was the giant pop, and then I couldn't move my left arm. But I was like, nah, well, there's 3 minutes left on the clock. We'll just keep going. I just won't go on this side, and I won't try to use this arm. Let's just push that in real close and like do everything in a different way. But I was like, okay, for whatever reason, can't use this, and doing this hurts or whatever. Like I had to adjust, and I kept going. You know what I mean? If I didn't know what my strengths were and what I could use to help me in that situation, then I would have just been a pancake on the floor. So that's Jenta saying that Pat, there he is. Look at him. By the way, she's allowed to do that. That's something she's allowed to do at home. Come say hi, Pat. There he is.
Hello.
Top of the morning to you, Pat.
Hello, Internet. How is everyone? Can you hear me, Bill? Is this thing on? What are you guys doing in here?
Killing me.
So
we'll grab Jenta so I can see her real quick, and then one thing that I really pulled away, and the thing that PSA really speaks to me, and GRC is what you were saying earlier, is the consistently inconsistent, right? Is that you're going to be going into environments that you don't know. Hi, Jenta. But you're going to have to. I love puppy kisses. Here, let me kiss one of mine too. This is Alder.
Okay.
He doesn't want to kiss me, but whatever. You're going into environments where you're going to be encountering inconsistencies, but your relationship with your dog and your ability to communicate with them is going to be the thing that gets you through that training. So, or that obstacle of trying to thwart your training, you know?
Yeah, and always having your relationship to fall back on.
Yep. That's the foundation of it. Pat, you handsome man. Tell him Brent says that he's a handsome man.
Brent has apparently commented and said you're a handsome man. Wait, the most exquisite man.
That's the most.
I'm not going into detail about where that came about, but
you know,
a joke at club last night. Yes, the most exquisite man was a description of something else, but anyway, now there's a big running joke about it. So
okay,
that can be the new thing. Pat is the most exquisite man.
Pat is the most exquisite man. I recommend Pat's exquisiteness. I remember one time I told him, I was like, let's do a live stream, Pat. And he's like, okay, sure. And I'm like, can you not wear a shirt?
Oh my gosh.
And he's all, no.
Meanwhile, when you ask me, oh, do you want to do a live? And I'm like, that's game. Are you sure? I don't know what I'm going to say on a live. By the way, I think this is the first live I've done ever.
Well,
like any podcast and stuff, that's not live.
And you know what? You're so much more relaxed than you were at the beginning. You're just like, where are my hands? Where do I put my hand? And then you're doing your fidget tool thingy. But
hey,
you did awesome, Jas. How do they get a hold of you? So you're in Australia, but you're working on some online classes. Do you know when those are going to be out? Do you have some available now, or what do you?
I'm not too sure, but what I want to do is I want to put I'll put together like little tutorials of and I say little because it'll be broken into different parts. Like, this is how I taught this behavior, this is how I teach sit down stand, this is how I taught like I don't know, this skill, whatever it is, like a bunch of stuff. And then what I'm thinking is it might end up being all there, and then it could be a subscription thing where you can access them all. Possibly, this isn't a guarantee, but I'm heading in this direction where it'll be a subscription. You can access them all. You know, you can cancel your subscription whenever, whatever. And then I may do a separate thing for tracking where I will have like a structure, like a presentation or whatever, that like maybe once a fortnight, whoever's in that program, and it might be a 4-month intake, once a fortnight, once a month, we'll have a session. We go through like a part of the tracking. You go out, you do it, you do your homework. You may have access to like some sort of group interaction online or something. And then like, that's how I can teach you tracking if you want to do that. But then Pat and I have, we're in the process of putting together a much bigger, like kind of puppy raising course. And then that'll get released. So basically, to stay up to date with this stuff, for mine, you can go check out my website. It's not there yet, but like it'll be announced there, but it'll be announced on social media. So follow me on Instagram. That's what I use most. That's where all my stuff goes.
Okay.
But then, Facebook as well, but I don't use that as much. But my website is prime-canine.com, all spelt out. And yeah, anything that's new will get uploaded onto there. And there'll be posts on Instagram for new things that are happening. And like the seminar in the UK in September, that's somewhere on my website, but gets posted about on social media as well. So.
And then prime/canine.com. I don't know if you could hear her growling, but I got a dog or a cat walking by here, and she's like full on like, and she has a cute.
That's right. I got a squirrel running around here. We don't really have squirrels in Australia. I wish we did.
But you got an exquisite man running around there. That's all I know.
Right.
Prime-canine. Let me put that in here. And it looks like you guys are getting the day started there. So let me. .com,
well, my day started at 5 a.m., but sure, we could get started now.
I sure do appreciate you, getting up early and doing this with me. We've been talking for a couple hours, and yeah, I just like you, man. I think that you're, I got to tell you, Jas, that when I started to talk to people about having you on, you got a pretty good reputation, man. You keep doing what you're doing because, I mean, people told me in 5 years, you're going to be one of the top trainers in the world. And so, and some pretty respectful people. So you're doing something right, dude. And just be you, keep marching to the beat of your drum. And yeah, just thank you so much for doing this. And I might tap you again in the future, maybe we'll do some more exclusive, explicit, like Patreon stuff where we can talk about maybe the nitty gritty of some stories or something I don't know. We'll figure it out, but
yeah, sure, man. Just touch base with me. Hit me up.
Yeah. And
great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the offer. Like I said, though, I was like, man, you invited me on. That's game, because I didn't know what I was gonna say, but
I think you did awesome,
and I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, and
Brent, I just saw that. Love you too, bro. Miss you. I won't be coming down for nationals, unfortunately. Sorry.
Do you have any trips planned to America?
No, not for this year. So just the UK in September. But between when I sell these dogs and get the next ones, then like if people would like to host a seminar, they can contact me. Just shoot me an email. I may not respond very quickly. Like it could take days, weeks, months. Like just it's not my main priority, checking my emails, and I'm not very good at the admin side of things. But yeah, if you're interested in hosting a seminar, let me know. We can discuss that, see if you have the audience there for the things that I'm teaching in seminars and things like that. typically they're now 3-day seminars. So keep that in mind. Can add privates to the end of that and things like that. If anyone wanted to host me for a longer, like a week, I've considered doing that sort of style work as well. Let me know. But yeah, I won't go overseas again until after I sell these pups. So like we'd be looking early next year to mid next year. I might have a window where maybe I could do some seminars or something again. So,
well, one quick question about selling these pups. So I've had a hard time with this. That's how I ended up with 7 dogs. What about getting attached? You don't? No. Okay, good. So you're not attached to them. You've already had like kind of a separation type of mindset with the training them and developing the relationship that you've had with them.
So like I develop a relationship, love the dogs, love the work that I do with them. Sure, miss working with them when they're gone, but I go into it knowing that I'm not keeping them. That probably makes it a little bit easier, but at any point I could keep one of these as a forever dog if I choose that this is one that I really like, I want to keep, it's suited to me and blah blah blah. But I think I can separate that really well. But I understand that's not something that everyone can do, but it's also, I guess I go into it knowing that I'm not keeping it, you know. So okay. But yeah, I'm going to have to run. I didn't know you'd be talking for this long or whatever. So yes, sorry to cut you off, but got ahead. So
no worries. Let's say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll say goodbye to you in the studio. Thank you, Jas. Bye, everybody.
See you later. Thanks for watching.